Yeah, so I think we make a lot of decisions. We have conflict almost between our heart and our heads, and we trust our heads an awful lot. We want everything to be measured, we want to be quantifiable, almost quantitative analysis becomes the focus of what we're pushed towards, you know, standardized test results, you know, producing a product at the end, you know. That I often say to people that if you compare us, like, we're not McDonald's, we don't produce the same product at the end. We're far more Jamie Oliver in terms of what we're trying to do. So
But the one thing there to hold on that is, the one thing that I pick up straight away when you mention that is, the one product here, to use the analogy again, in the corporate world, is the student. You can literally feel that you're directing the attention to look after yourself and work within everyone else. Like, it's so.
Yeah, you know, it's not utopia. I mean, we have difficulties. Children fall out.
Oh yeah.
We do have bullying.
Yeah.
It's how you deal with it. The essential. It is very simple. What you're looking for in a school is a school should be a happy place.
Correct.
If you want to write a mission statement, that's it. Stop there. You know, if you were handing this to an editor, you know, if you were saying you had a big long paragraph of what your school is going to be, no, a school should be a happy place. Because if it's not happy at the start, now how do you get it to be a happy place? It can't be everybody can't be happy all the time. You know, you can't micromanage it. You know, you can't micromanage it.
But even on that point, to think on a mantra, as you say, like a happy place, yeah, everywhere has its challenges, but even yesterday when we were sitting in one of the classrooms, you actually raised the issue on the bullying, and the students themselves were able to talk through the steps and actually identify the areas of where it might actually occur.
And it's about arming people with language. And I mean, to go back to the heart and the head thing, it's something that I really believe that I think we overestimate our head and we underestimate our heart. Yet when it comes to all the major decisions in life, it's our heart that dictates it. You know, that if the guys here listening to us here now, if they use their head, they could be at logical things at home in Rhode Island, sitting, I'm sure, beside the beach and looking out on a beautiful ocean, or heading to Florida or something. But their heart told them this was the right place to come. Their heart told them this was it. Friendship brought them here. The idea of making a change brought them here. And it was their heart that led them here. If you are getting married, and you wrote down all the reasons why you should get married or why you shouldn't get married, it could be very close. But you don't, and it's your heart that dictates what you do. And your heart should run a school, not your head. So sometimes you need to leave the forms aside. You do not need to be in the office. There are 3 C's that are being pushed on us at the moment. I really think, as teachers or as administrators or as whatever job we're looking at, and they are first being compliance. We live in a world where compliance is just everywhere. And we do need some of that. We need to have health and safety standards, sure. We need to have absolutely child protection guidelines, sure. No, we always have them, really. But now there's a tick list for these things everywhere. The second is competence. Can you actually do what you're meant to do? You know, are you good at what you're doing? You know, how do we work this out? And the third is character. So you have compliance, competence, and character. Of the 3, the third is the most important. You can get competent if you try, if you have the character to do it. You will learn how to comply with different forms if you have the character. But I really think we spend our whole time checking compliance, and our eye has been taken off competence and character.
Correct.
And competence and character should be the foundations before compliance, not vice versa. Now that's another convoluted way that I try to put of your heart and your head. Character is your heart. So when I'm interviewing people for positions here, one of the questions I ask is, where do you volunteer? Tell me somewhere you volunteered in the last 6 months. Tell me somewhere where you've given of your time. You know?
That's a very good question.
And from that, you're trying to work out where people are at in the terms of their aspect on life. You know, I was at something there was a conference on, and I was sitting beside somebody very involved at high level in education. We said, look, we're not going to talk about school, let's relax. But during the course of the conversation, this gentleman managed to mention to me that he comes to Kerry on his holidays and that he just got a dog. And I said, okay, I couldn't resist it. I said, well, you know, we bought a dog. If you wrote down the reasons to get a dog, you know, he's going to chew everything, he's going to poop everywhere, he's going to make your life a mess, he's another responsibility. You've got all those things. On the other side of it, you're going to love the dog. He's going to be a vital part of your family. You'll never forget the dog. You got the dog. That's the way a school should be run.
Yeah.
You know, less of the forms, more of the well-being, more of the heart, more of the understanding, more of putting things aside. Take the textbook and realise that we are not a textbook-driven curriculum. We are a child-centred curriculum. And if we are truly a child-centred curriculum, then that's exactly what we should be. And to do that, that means fundamental changes in what we're doing. That's brought my thinking and our thinking here in general onto, like, for example, the committee who are going to try and design the building.
Yeah.
You know, if it is going to be child-centred. And I really think that a false democracy or tokenism or political correctness is one of our greatest enemies. There has to be some change in this building that I wouldn't have thought of, that the architect team wouldn't have thought of, but that the children did. That's my aim, and then I know.
And to bring that story in, and actually it was one of those things actually we were talking about yesterday. Do you want us to give a bit of background on the story you're talking about, as in the project of 4 million that you're redeveloping, and what the initiative was behind it?
I think that the where it's come from is I was at a meeting, and it was in 2015, which is a while back now, and the little boy in question was speaking to a very two stories. They were speaking to a very prominent group of educationalists, and I don't like preparing scripts for children. I much prefer them to actually express.
You could see that yesterday.
Yeah,
no one was prepared.
No, and they prepared their own opinion. And like, so what if we disagree on something?
It's good though.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, so he stood up and he said, "Yeah, I have a few ideas," and he said, "I think schools are far too important to be left to adults alone." And actually, the ombudsman for children was there in the audience, and she tweeted it immediately as a quote. It's still there. She still ended up blown away by it. And we went then we hosted a conference here in Killarney in 2016 called the Changemaker Schools Conference, where there were schools from all over Europe, and we had some really prominent people over with us and visiting school and staying, and people from Korea and all over Europe. Wow. Yeah, it was fascinating stuff. But again, at that we wanted the student voice, so the students opened the conference, and students from here opened the conference. So this, Lauren, opened the conference, and she stood up, and again she said, "Okay, you're very welcome to Killarney." She did a long speech on Killarney and all that. And then she said, "Now, what are you actually doing in Killarney?" So somebody said, "Well, we're here to discuss changes in education." And she said, "No, what are you actually doing?" And, "Well, we have workshops, and no, I mean, are you actually going to do something? Are you going to, collect money for something? Are you going to help something?" And there was kind of silence in the room with all these adults. And she said, "Well, I suggest that you do a quick whip around. People have different money from all over the world here. We'll take it, we'll transfer it, and we'll give it to a charity. Anybody got any ideas for charities?" Now, there were 4 ministers from education from Europe in the audience. There were 2 peers of the British realm. There were, there were representatives of Richard Branson's foundation. There was the Templeton Foundation. There was a lot of people, right? And they were blown away by Lorna. And she said, "Okay," and somebody said, "Any idea with charities?" So this fellow called Lord Knight, who was the British last Labour British Minister for Education, and he's a peer now, and he owns an online education company. He said, "Yeah, okay, we could collect for Médecins Sans Frontières." And Lauren looked at it and said, "Okay, that's very good, but that's not in Killarney. I coach in a Football for All camp. Would you think that's a good idea? We collect that." €225 later, she had it in a bag and she walked off the stage, and I went, "Drop the mic, finish the conference, let's all walk away," because they were interested in action.
Yeah.
They weren't just interested in talk. And those 2 examples of children's voice is always something that's fascinated me. So obviously then we have 5 committees here that are run by children, and we came across an idea then, how do I collect children's voice in a creative way, not just in a sort of an organisational way, just to do that. So I was struck when Seamus Heaney died. Seamus Heaney, the Irish poet, said that you should write about anything you like. It's brilliant.
But even on that, on poetry, like I've challenged myself this year, just to give you a bit of background on things I've succeeded on. Taught myself 2 instruments, written poetry. Never done any of this in my life. Currently shooting a documentary, which ripples out to raising €100,000. So like it's a case of, your project now is a case of, I love it, it's a case of going back to just that piece on that, why I want to build on that point is, it's what it feels like here. Like my crew were saying yesterday that it literally was like, "Rory, you should be a teacher," in the sense that you connect with kids, and I see that your relationship as well is such an inspiration that you nearly, even from the adult position, if you will, or the position of leadership, take a step back and actually go, hold on, we're all on the same page here, and you engage at a level that everyone's together on that voice, if you will, and it really builds the impact.
To impact that is that if you are a principal of a school, you should be 12.
Yes, I love it.
If you're going to think, you should try to think like a 12-year-old. And the truth of the matter is you never will. So therefore you should ask them. And you should be guided by them in some sort of...
Let them lead, as you said. Brilliant.
Yeah, and there are times when it's not equal, there are times when, everybody... Like, I was struck by one of the meetings there. If you brought 11 and 12-year-olds, if I was brought in as 11 and 12-year-old to my school when I was back in Sligo in the day, and somebody said, okay, we're going to run school, what are you going to do? Ice cream, let's do ice cream. No, they're talking about equality, inclusion, racism, bullying, they're talking about initiatives, climate change, they're talking about, involvement in design and architecture. Wow. And these children, like the children that you met there, are a cross section. They are not the hand-picked selection committee.
Yeah.
There's more. There's another 100 like that.
And even Jasmine's wish yesterday when I rubbed the genie lamp was like life-changing. Like they're making goals and they're setting challenges that are world peace. Like it's incredible.
But again, just to finish with this, because I'm just going to the next thing. But the James Heaney's quote: "You can write about anything you like." So we had a parent here with us who died. Laura Marcena, and she had been very interested in a student magazine, so we kind of married the idea. So we put out boxes. I'll give you a couple of copies to take away. We put out boxes, we call them scribblers. So you put out the boxes, cardboard boxes, they're painted blue or green, what colour they are now actually, because we keep on changing them. And children can write about anything they like, anything at all, absolutely anything. They can draw a picture, they can write a story, they can write a poem.
And even you reward them at the end of it, as we were showing yesterday with the gold.
Publish them. The golden box, yeah. No, in these then we gather up all the scribblers. We have a committee then, and there's children and adults on the committee. They choose, they edit. We have a company that sponsors it, and we bring out a magazine, and they're published all. And we're on our 9th edition. And it's called Scribblers, and it really is the most eclectic bunch of writing and thing. Last Scribblers, I think we had 1,400 entries.
Wow. That is amazing.
It is, yeah. It is. I mean, there's only 600. So there's obviously some people who are avidly interested in it. There are people that, and then you kind of think how are we going to shape this a bit more. So we took a theme one time where we went green. Okay, so the theme was green. It was around St. Patrick's Day, so it could be that's great. Anything in Irish, in our native language, anything to do with the environment, anything to do with St. Patrick's Day, anything to do with that. We found that a little bit restrictive, so we didn't do it anymore. We also avoided Halloween this year because there's only so much blood and guts you can take in one sitting. So where our next edition is out now, the start of December, yeah.
Nice.
And boxes are just back in, and I get asked 2 questions most often in the school: when is the pitch open? Because of the weather. When can we go back on the grass? And when is Scribblers coming out? They're the 2 questions I get asked most often. No matter where I go. And it's again hearing the children's voice, but hearing the children's voice in that creative space where you can say, write about anything you like. You're worried about something, write about it. You're thinking about something, let's write it down. You're happy about something, write it down. You've got this brilliant idea.
But that's teaching their journals, the gratitude, empathy and everything else, and I know we're conscious of time, but just to see the spin then, so where did the whole project to build an extension come from and literally hand the ownership over to the children?
Well, I suppose to be fair, the ownership isn't handed over to them.
Oh, well, they
have a say. Yeah. They have a say and have a real say. And look, it's a little bit of madness. And I think that it's like one of these things when you go to read, and I'm trying to do some reading on it at the moment. It has been done, but it's been done in a kind of way, tell us now what sort of school you'd like. This is a little bit more because we intend to study. We intend to...
Yeah, because you have the students reading books.
Well, we have the read books, the book club. We have the history of architecture. Came across a brilliant Irish architect who joined the 1950s, was responsible for how schools looked then.
Wow.
I don't know if what school you went to, but the school I went to had a shed outside. For a play. Yeah, that's a guy called Bowden Barrett. And he believed children should be out in the fresh air regardless of the weather. So he put those sheds in all the schools. And if you look at it, he actually put Palladian columns down. There were columns down the front of the things because he wanted to remind us of the great Greek and Roman learning time. And this was a conscious, he put in 12 pane windows on the students would have them on the left hand side, so if you were right handed the shadow wouldn't be cast on the writing. He put flower boxes outside, he put a pagoda over the doors. And these schools were built.
Even the ideas yesterday that we were talking about with the lines in and out of the school that the children would be able to follow if they got lost.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Fantastic, fantastic, yeah. So really, look, it's really exciting times. We do have difficulties, we do have challenges, we have challenges every single day. Every single day that there's something that happens. But I wouldn't do anything else for all the tea in China. And
I would love to like just conclude on your final thoughts, but like even for that sense, like we came out this morning from breakfast. Thanks again for the drum halls, service, hospitality, incredible, but the tyre was flat. In the middle of organising the tyre to be fixed, I was writing a thank you letter and a gratitude note to Kira, who helped us inside. So the positivity spin, within 5 minutes we were on the road again, but you had already left your mark. And it's a case of, this is just something for you, I suppose, going forward. Like, what's your vision, if you will, to leave the legacy, which you've already established and you live it every day? It's incredible. I'm very honoured to share that. Like, what would your view on what you'd like to leave as your legacy be when your time in St. Oliver's possibly comes to an end?
It won't be in bricks and mortar, and it won't be in textbooks. It'll be in people's memories, in terms of what memory you can have with someone. That I'll be able to meet the young people that I've worked with and the children that have been in our care, and you can look them in the eye and you can say,
job well done.
The job well done is too quantifiable, but that you can look each other in the eye and say, yeah, okay, yeah, I liked you when you were small, I still like you, and
it's even hard, as you said, to put into words there. It's a case of everything. It's incredible to put that into what I'm trying to say there is, you're literally putting memories into people's minds.
This is the cadet class, the Army cadet class that's about to graduate next February. Okay. Officers in the Irish Army. Okay. Standing in there, just here actually, is a past pupil of mine, Igor. Igor came to us, his dad, mum were from Russia.
Yeah.
Igor, I think, was born here, as far as I know. Igor was chosen as one of the cadets for the Irish Naval Service. I think out of 200 and something, they picked 11 or 12. He was chosen. He did his last interview completely Oscar, all in Irish, as an optional thing. He will graduate from the cadet school come next February. Igor came back in here. There's only 2 of these photographs. He gave me one. I will never lose this photograph.
And to answer your question earlier, Gura Mila Mahagut, for sharing that, I went to an Irish primary school back in Tipperary, and it sets a stone for your language learning skills and everything like that in your life. But as you said, even here, you're one of the highest schools that actually speak Irish, and like in diversified cultures, you spin those languages, and it might be a very nice piece to finish on. That as you're entering and exiting the school, you have each week different themes, different languages.
Different month. Yeah, we have different languages. So we have welcome committees. You might get a shot of them there. They're in t-shirts, and they welcome everybody to school in the morning at the different exits in whatever language of the month that's on. Yeah. Look, it's a part of the way of recognising, saying, and what's really interesting, one of the most interesting languages we did was Love, which is the language, sign language.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just put a smile on people's faces. And if a school is going to be a happy place, isn't it a good way to start with a smile? And like if you go around the school with this idea of a happy thing, we have pictures of children smiling around the school. It's there, it should be weaved into how we care for each other, and that happiness really should underpin everything that we do.
To what you've done, we will carry a smile with us, I know, until at least Christmas and beyond. So just to highlight that again, it's a case of that yesterday we were very lucky to learn even some of the travelling communities lingo, in a sense, and all their phrases and all their terms. That like, we've been very lucky to be here, and we've entered and we've learned a lot, and I feel like what we've learned here, we will definitely, through the documentary, lead and show the values that you guys have here. And all I have to say is a massive thank you from myself, Allan, Brian, and everyone here. You've been a real inspiration, and it's
Thanks
been
very
a
much.
pleasure.
Thanks very much.
So I'd like to thank St. Oliver's for 2 days of absolute pleasure. It's such a nice environment. Sitting behind me is the choir. They're going to take us out and they're going to finish the piece, but I just want to say a massive thank you to Rory, all of the staff, and all of the help that I've had. This is a special gift to me. I turned 30 on Saturday, so I'd like to thank all of the together. This is a massive birthday present. Christmas is everything coming true. Josie and Noel, this is so important to spread the word of positivity. I'm so proud that you do lead the kingdom. You're like a shining light of positivity, each and every one of you. I wish you the best of luck, and you're so special. You've made my Christmas come true. And I'll let you sing what you want for Christmas, dear Santa.
Well, before we start our Christmas song, we have something for you first.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rory. Happy birthday to
Unbelievable. Thank you so much.
That was practice. Really hard. Okay, here we go.
Dear Santa, what would I like? I think I'll start with a shiny new bike, 'cause I've been good. You knew I would. I've been a little dear all year. Dear Santa, what would I like? New trainers, smart trainers, sparkle and light, 'cause I've been good. You knew I would. I've been a little dear all year. Dear Santa, what would I like? A nice tennis racket, a ball and a kite, 'cause I've been good. You knew I would. I've been a little dear all year. Dear Santa, what would I like? Some orange and yellow socks that look nice and bright, 'cause I've been good. You knew I would. I've been a little dear all year. Dear Santa, what would I like? Please can you make sure you give me a bite, 'cause I've been good. You knew I would. I've been a little dear all year. I've been a little dear all year. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rory. Happy birthday to you.
Unbelievable. Best happy birthday I've ever got.